Hello and welcome to a walkthrough for Project Life. This is this last week for me, and I'm showing how I did a lot of the cards digitally on my computer this week. Um, that one that I just showed you, the last one, is of Bo Burnham. He had this comedy special that just came out on Netflix, and we watched it Saturday, and oh my gosh, I just loved it so much. So I just went on the internet and found a random picture from that tour, and then went in Photoshop and added some text to it. So um, I thought that was like a nice little touch for the week because that was just, I highly recommend that to anyone. So going through and picking out the cards, that's always my first step after printing photos, picking out which cards are going to match the coloring and stories for the week. So um, that number one, number two, number three on the right there, I've been holding those for a long time and decided this was a good week to finally use those. Um, so now going through and just kind of finding embellishments for each of the photos. Some photos I do embellish, others I don't. So just I think small is better. That one is of our closets. We did all of our laundry today, and I was looking and I was like, oh, it just looks so nice and organized. So I snapped a photo of that, which is a very everyday kind of thing that I just absolutely love. So um, that little stamp, I think it's Ali Edwards, but I think it says "Hello Life" right now or something. I knew I wanted to have some kind of everyday um, routine kind of embellishment for that. So I liked the way that that turned out. And then I had already added that little washi tape strip on the bottom of the picture of Ellie by that the bench with all the things she got from our cabinet. So that had already been added. Now I'm making a little card. So, I do try to take photos horizontally, but when I don't, um, I just make a little card, and this is kind of what I'm doing there. So, splitting a 4x6 into two, but still having it on one card. So I do that every so often. The second digital journaling card that I had showed you, the one with the flowers around it, and then in the center. So this week I planted flowers for the very first time. I've never done that in my whole life, and it was so cool. On Monday we planted the seeds, and then on Thursday they had already sprouted, and I was so excited. So I used the Feed Your Craft has a digital kit from Brandy Kincaid. I think it's called Keep Growing. And I think that's so beautiful, that thing that she doodled. I mean, all of her doodles are beautiful, but especially that one. So what I did there, on the original card, it's just white in the center. So I took it into Photoshop, and then I just cut out the center. Well, I made a layer essentially, and then I put the picture behind it. But another way to do that would be to print it out and then just use a circle punch on a photo and then just put it in the middle. I could have done that. That probably would have been easier, actually. I guess I felt like making it difficult. But then I also added the text at the bottom, so that just worked well as a digital card in general. And then the Wednesday card also worked out nicely digitally because I had so much to say about Wednesday. Um, that I think that's kind of my new rule is if I have a lot to say, I'm going to type it, and if it's kind of just a blurb, um, I don't mind writing it out. So that's kind of where I am right now. I guess I shouldn't say rule because I don't want to have rules in this. That doesn't make it very fun, but that's just kind of my current thinking. So for this stamp, I was going to stamp it, and then I saw that it was a little bit warped. So that clear block with the lines printed on it is so helpful for that because it helps you make sure that things are straight. So I highly recommend getting one of those if you don't have it for those little strips of words because they help things to really stay straight. Um, so now just going through and writing. On the pictures on the upper left and then the one right below that, they do have that bad glare. I am sorry about that. It's the lamp. I cannot seem to figure out a way for that to not be. So those two pictures, though, the ones with the glare on them and then the Wednesday, those are all kind of the same thing, the same story. And then the one with the geotag is going to be the title card. And then the number one is going to go with the photo of me, the story of telling about the makeup that I got. I'm going to tell a story about that. And then number 2 is going to be the top 2 photos on the right when we went to a strawberry festival. And then the number 3 is going to be talking about work this week, which has been just delightfully slow. So there I'm making the title card. And title cards, again, I think I said this in my last one, are just so hard for me. I don't know. I don't know what it is about them. I think sometimes I have a hard time with simplicity because it doesn't feel like enough. But the reality is that I always end up liking things when they're simple. So um, I think when I get in the creative groove, then I want to be all, do a lot of stuff. But I end up liking things that are more simple. So I use that roller date stamp for almost everything. And the tip that I have found about using just the date and not, so on the one side they have like a different sentiment and then they have the date, and sometimes I just want to use the date. But it's hard to ink it just the one side, and if you ink the whole thing, then obviously how do you kind of deal with that? So what I do is I ink it with a sentiment and then I roll it to one that I like almost have never used, and that way it's for sure not going to get any ink. I do eventually move that 3 down. I can see that it's a little bit higher than the 2. Yeah, see. Something I just didn't notice till right then. So, I don't write week 23. I think because this is just, it's part of the routine, I just feel like it's kind of understood that it's, week 23. So that's just one of those details I don't feel like is, necessarily to always articulate. So now I'm writing on the photo, and this pen that I'm using is actually not a slick writer or anything that's meant to write on a photo, but it works fine. I recently experimented with it and it turned out it was fine. So it's just the Zig Millennium, an 01 point. I love the fine point. So if you're somebody who thinks that you can't just use those pens on there, go ahead and do it. It really is fine, which I'm actually really glad about because I've had a hard time finding a slick writer in a smaller, finer point. I really should have moved the camera. I'm just now seeing that. I'm sorry about that. So, on the bottom right, that's an Ali Edwards digital kit thing that says Sunday, and then I just did some typing and I actually just put that in Photoshop, so that's not attached. That was printed out. So now I really feel like I liked that yellow of the Today You, and there's a lot of yellow like in the strawberry photo, in the plate in the upper right. So I wanted to tie in more of the yellow. So what I did was I found, these are Ali Edwards as well, little word strips that kind of match the story that's going to go on each of them. So the Loving is going to talk about the unique brand mascara that I'm obsessed with right now, and then the Remember is going to talk about the Strawberry Festival, and then the Currently is going to talk about work. So that's what I did there. So now just adding the journaling on each of the cards. Did handwrite those, which I felt good about. I always do really like to add lines underneath the journaling. I think that it makes it look more tied together. I think that's just a personal preference kind of a thing, of course. On the bottom left, that little embellishment, that little camera, is askew, but I do straighten it out before it goes in the album. So if you're like me and you notice details like that, I just want to help you clear your mind that does get straightened out. Okay, so another week in Project Life. Thank you so much for watching, and happy crafting.